the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing 60 Minutes Australia and their segment they did quite a few years back, you guys. Quite a long time ago, when one of my favorite child advocates and whistleblowers, Jenna Miscavige, came out of being in the Sea Org, having been trafficked into the Sea Org as a minor, and did a whole world tour, laying out a ton of facts, a ton of truths that, although the media pretended to really care for just a little while, it doesn't seem that there was any actual follow-up and follow-through to anything that was told to them over a decade ago. So without further ado, here's 60 Minutes Australia for you guys.
Welcome back. Over the years, we've heard a lot about the Church of Scientology. It's high profile, bolstered by Hollywood A-listers. But what goes on behind the walls of this religion isn't always glamorous. The church is led by David Miscavige, a man who usually prefers to stay out of the public eye. But now his niece has shone a bright, unwelcome light upon the church and its behaviour. Jenna Miscavige Hill spent more than 20 years in the church with her uncle. She told her story to Liz Hayes.
There's not an exact criteria for evil, but I would definitely say, you know, somebody who makes rules that thousands and thousands of people can't have children and runs a church where there's child labor, forced and coerced abortions, where people are separated from their family. If that's not evil, then what is, you know?
29.
If that's not evil, then what is? Was a very, very good question that Jenna brought up over a decade ago. You guys, over a decade ago. And yet imagine that the status quo of the situation not only turned their back on Jenna making these points, but also turned their back on every last child that is still stuck inside of those hotels. So you guys tell us who's dropping the balls everywhere.
9-year-old Jenna Miscavige Hill is talking about the Church of Scientology.
Well, thank you very much.
Run by her own uncle, David Miscavige.
It's just a game of power and control. It strips away your individuality, whatever their bidding is. People are either bad or good. They're either for Scientology or against Scientology.
Well, what's the difference between Scientology and a cult?
So imagine being the reporter that gets an interview with Jenna that speaks about how what in the hell was being done inside of those hotels was leaving people without a conscience, doing the bidding, doing blind, disgusting bidding of things that, as we know now, 10 years later, the type of stuff that was being done is called felonies, is called conspiracy to bend all the laws of the United States, that these people inside of these hotels thought to themselves, what an amazing, great idea. No one is ever going to come to the hotel. No one's ever going to find out anything. we can run without a conscience inside of the hotel and nobody will care. And imagine that the follow-up question of this reporter is, what's the difference between Scientology and a cult? I mean, literally, I couldn't think of a more dumb question to be asking. Literally.
I can't think of any.
Scientology established its first church here in Los Angeles in 1954. It's always attracted controversy, not the least because its creator, the late L. Ron Hubbard, was a science fiction writer with, let's say, some interesting views. But over the years, the church has been accused of, at best, bizarre behaviour and, at worst, criminal conduct. Now, what Jenna Miscavige Hill, the church leader's niece, has to say, casts yet another very dark shadow over the church. For most of her life, Scientology was all Jenna Miscavige Hill had ever known. From childhood, she lived in the inner sanctum of the church. Her parents and grandparents were Scientologists, and it was where she met her husband, Dallas. Church is first.
Right, before family, before friends, especially before yourself.
And that became clear, says Jenna, from early childhood. Her parents were part of the clergy, or Sea Org, as they're called. And according to Jenna, spent long periods away from their children.
From when I was 4, I started only seeing them once a week. And then from when I was 12 until I was 18, I saw my mom twice. And my dad 4 times. And the majority of those times were for less than an hour.
Well, of course, from an outsider's perspective, I'd be saying, well, why weren't your parents trying to contact you?
It's hard, like it's this whole mind control business. To see that that was a bad situation, they would have to see their whole world crumbling down.
When she was 6, Jenna was sent here to the ranch, a Scientology boarding school just out.
I think that's a very good point to be raising, you guys. And again, incredibly mature of Jenna to have understood that so early on, that she understood quite well that her own parents, her very own parents, cannot accept the facts. Because once a Scientology parent is able to accept the facts, you better believe their entire world comes crumbling the F down. All of a sudden, they lose all those justifications that they had in place in order to self-infantilize and partake in disgusting, unthinkable things that no adult had any business doing inside hotels with children at an industrial size scale. So, yes, all of these Scientology parents, mine included, Jenna's included, Nora's included, Liz Ferris included, Laura's included, Aaron's mother's included, every last shred of child that had a parent that brought him inside of the hotel. That parent has a ton of reckoning to do with their damn selves. The type of reckoning that they have to now go and speak to the executives that they made deals that supported the activity, the highly illegal activity of trafficking minors across state lines, across international waters, across other countries, across the whole entire world. That was and is the operation as it currently stands, you guys. Imagine nothing has changed in literally 73 years.
Outside of Los Angeles.
It was run like a military type school. Everything we did was very regimented. We did manual labor for 35 hours a week. And it was anything from like digging ditches for irrigation to hauling wheelbarrows full of gravel to make cactus gardens to hauling rocks to make rock walls, to weeding for fire breakers, things like that.
I mean, again, you guys, the type of labor we're talking about is breaking labor. Children weren't allowed to have a shred of time for themselves to figure out who they were themselves because they were being exploited, because they were being tasked with adult chores. Things that are unthinkable, things that are indefensible, things that no adult in this year 2023 can convince us it's in any way, shape, or form acceptable. So why in the literal hell are all adults that were part of this adult collective locking up children in so-called ranches, leaving the children there neglected AF? You guys have had Miriam Francis speak on this. You guys have had Lara FM speak on this. You guys have had Jenna Miscavige speak on this. Catherine Spolino write a whole book on it. The corroboration couldn't just be everywhere because every single person that was inside of these disgusting hotel operations that was a child had the horrendous experience of being put inside of these horrible conditions.
And it was here that Jenna says that she signed away her heart and soul. At just 7 years of age, she signed a contract committing her to 1 billion years with the church. Did you know what you were signing?
I mean, I knew that it was 1 billion years, but it was more, and I knew that that's what my parents did, but it was more that I didn't know that I had any other option.
I mean, again, what type of question is that for these reporters, you guys? In what world is a reporter asking a child if they knew what in the hell they were signing? As if that wouldn't be obvious. Because we would love to understand in what world, in what scenario are underage kids presented with legal binding contracts and said legal binding contracts are being enforced? In what country, in what world, in what city, in what state is this happening? Because apparently it's happening in Florida, because apparently Valerie Haney did sign arbitration agreements that apparently are very enforceable. Never mind, she was abducted and trafficked as a 15-year-old girl, Valerie Haney. Another one that grew up in the cadet org. Another one that was literally sent to the trash cans to clean maggots off of trash cans, you guys. So why is the corporate media so pathetic and stupidly asking stupid questions instead of actually directing those real questions that require real answers back to the traffickers of the children? Oh, the traffickers don't want to give any interviews. Oh, well, I guess that's all we can do here, you guys. Well, we'll tell you what Jenna wants to say. But in what world is this press taking a shred of accountability once they hear what these minors have been up against? Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing is all that is on the public record, you guys. You can go look for yourselves.
And, you know,
Well, a 7-year-old signing a billion-year
Yeah.
contract sounds outrageous.
right, yeah, but it did bind me emotionally.
It's not just outrageous. It's literally illegal. Outrageous is, in what world is outrageous and illegal interchangeable? Especially given the subject that we are discussing here, especially given the systemic, institutionalized nature of said problem.
And mentally, and you know, I wanted to be loyal and keep that contract. I never thought that I ever wouldn't.
Dallas, did you sign a billion-year contract?
Yeah, when I was 18 and joined the Sea Org, I signed.
And you didn't hesitate?
No, at first I had someone yelling at my face and telling me I was evil for not signing it because I wanted to be an actor and to go off and do normal stuff. So yeah, it took about a few months of constantly interrogating me and pressuring me and telling me that's the greatest thing in the world.
So, yet more corroboration here from Dallas, Jenna's ex-husband, you guys, who says he was being yelled at for months, getting interrogated. In what world can any organization out there purport to be recruiting volunteers, so-called volunteers, that are being hard sold? Kids that were just turning 18, that were being told that they were evil for not helping, for not doing the right thing and joining the Sea Org and getting trafficked.
"75 million years ago, the galaxy was ruled by a tyrant named Xenu. One day, Xenu rounded up various wrongdoers and imprisoned them in volcanoes on Earth, which was then called Tigiak.
This is the world, according to church founder L. Ron Hubbard.
Hydrogen bombs were dropped on them. Then their spirits, called Thetans, were trapped in humans. And that is the cause of all our sufferings. Only through Scientology can our Thetans be cleared.
Do you ever think that you might be quite mad?
Oh, yes. The one man in the world who never believes he's mad is a madman.
Hubbard died in 1986, but his teachings, based seemingly on a mix of science fiction and psychoanalysis, continues today.
We had pictures of him in every room, pretty much.
And again, you guys, this glib, regurgitated pitch that the media gives everyone about how Hubbard's writings were just so derived from psychoanalysis. I'm sorry, did psychoanalysis also say to lock people up against their MF will? Because if psychoanalysis didn't write to strap down and lock up and ignore the will of someone subjecting themselves to said therapy, then what type of similarity is an extreme role play, the type of the ones that L. Ron Hubbard pitched in his disgusting unhinged writings, the same thing as any old self-analysis therapy, you guys, because it couldn't be more ridiculous. It couldn't be more glib. It couldn't be more of a false equivalent that the press always likes to cite as if they have ever taken a course inside of those hotels, as if they have ever actually read and understood what in the hell L. Ron Hubbard was pitching.
You know, we had to clap to his picture at the end of every day, several times a day even.
Since its inception, Scientology has come under intense scrutiny, but never more so than now, after a number of former church members have made serious allegations of abuse and mistreatment. You're not encouraged to have children, are you? Or are you banned from having children?
Well, regular Scientologists are allowed to have children, but members of the Sea Org are not allowed to have children.
And if you fell pregnant, what would happen?
Many people are coerced into having abortions, guilted into it, told that, well, you're not following your billion-year contract, you're betraying us.
Because that's a serious allegation to make, that you're encouraged or made to think that an abortion is an appropriate action.
It is serious, but it's completely true. It's like many people, many friends of mine, I've even seen it happen in some cases. So yes, it's very serious, but it's completely the truth.
For those who broke any of...
And again, you guys, why is this reporter putting on Jenna that the allegation she's making about a practice that we have been on the record for years explaining to people what Jenna exactly just said? People got locked up in a room, told that they were getting an ethics handling, and all of a sudden they were going to do the right ethical thing. Imagine forcing a woman to do that to herself and call that you're getting her ethics in. In what world is something so disgusting an ethical situation? And why does it have to be up to us, the kids that were stuck inside of the damn hotels, to have a problem to the fact of all the things that we did get to observe? These people thought we were going to be, like Jenna said, loyal to our billion-year contracts. They weren't counting on us ever breaking it. Imagine we all got to sign this as underage kids, and all of the Scientology attorneys and all of the crooked AF executives, the unindicted felon child trafficking executives, were just counting on us, just, remaining loyal for the rest of eternity to all of the dysfunction and the racketeering scheming that they were about. Because now that we're adults in adult bodies, we understand very clearly that we were co-opted, that we were used as proxies to do the bidding of disgusting, unhinged, maniacal adults that were too busy getting drunk of their own delusional power, all based on delusions of grandeur that they got from consuming L. Ron Hubbard rhetoric 24/7, 365. So if all of those adults that were all about becoming L. Ron Hubbard proteges now want to backpedal and backtrack, do so by showing actual amends. Do so by showing actual receipts of what you are repudiating. You don't just walk out of a hotel and all of a sudden your needle floated and all of a sudden you're the good guys because you're no longer stuck inside of the hotel. That is not changing a shred of a condition inside of those hotels. Just to be clear to all the Scientology parents that really do think that there's so much more above the people that are stuck inside the hotel. Why? Because y'all walked out and now you know what in the hell everything was about. And now where is your outrage is what we really need to understand. What type of sedative are y'all on to feel nothing? After literally having committed the most unthinkable, disgusting things, all to feed your own egos, all to feed your own delusions of power, all completely unacceptable AF.
If the church rules, punishment could take many forms. Dallas claims it meant being locked in the basement of this building.
We had premarital sex and we got in trouble, and I was in the basement for 2 weeks and told that if I didn't cooperate, I'd never see Jenna again and I'd never see my parents again.
The church has categorically denied Dallas's allegations.
And again, you guys, they can categorically deny whatever in the hell they want to categorically deny. But premarital sex was something they were monitoring inside of those hotels. Premarital sex is part of this ridiculous, bougie idea that these people really are puritanical AF. Oh, we couldn't be more ethical inside of this hotel. Why were all Scientology executives so pressed, so interested in the intricate details in the sex lives of underage children? Because we would love to understand, given that none of you were doctors, none of you were professionals. All of you only got a 2-week course inside a hotel, and all of a sudden, every last minor's sexual history was fair game to y'all. All adults, all parents, all executives, all staff members, 21 and up inside of said hotels. So that would be very interesting for all of you to really start double checking the type of entitlement and derangement and culture that apparently you are all about and can't stop pitching as beneficial to who exactly? Because that's our question today. Who in the literal hell benefits from all this disgusting level of dysfunction?
Scientology owes much of its high profile to Hollywood, a number of its stars who have embraced the church, including Tom Cruise.
I do what I can, and I do it the way I do everything. There's nothing part of the way for me. It's just...
Cruz and David Miscavige, the church leader, are said to be close friends. But according to Dallas, who worked at the Scientology Celebrity Center, there had, at one time, been some concerns. Tom Cruise is, for many, the biggest name in the church. When you were there, Dallas, so you were aware that Nicole Kidman had some influence on how he was being viewed.
Well, yeah, when I was at the celebrity church, he wasn't around. He wasn't on services. And I was told from them that it was because Nicole Kidman was an influence on him.
And not a good one.
And not a good one.
Is it possible for Tom Cruise to have a partner and not, who's not a participant of the church and stay in the church?
As a Scientologist, you believe that Scientology is going to save that person. So if you really love someone, there's almost no chance that you wouldn't do everything you could to make them into a Scientologist.
Having been born...
And again, you guys, why do we always have to bring up the name of these ridiculous celebrities every single time a news segment is being done? Because as you all just saw, there is nothing but an effort to flop up their segments with irrelevant pop culture details that just allows them to really monetize on the 1 million plus views that they've gotten on this video on YouTube alone. So, yet again, it's just ridiculous. The line of questioning is just ridiculous. The stupid details that they're asking two kids that didn't have anything to do with consenting to being anywhere near Tom Cruise or Nicole Kidman.
And bred a Scientologist and as the niece of David Miscavige, any thoughts of leaving were always going to be a challenge for Jenna. But the idea took seed when the church sent Jenna and Dallas to work in Australia. That was a turning point, you say, for...
When the church sent Dallas and Jenna to Australia, imagine that there's a racketeering child trafficking conspiracy operating full-blown in the United States, operating full-blown in Australia, the first country who dared to recognize these disgusting L. Ron Hubbard proteges as so-called religious whatever in the hell they're pitching they are. So this hotel chain moved kids across international waters, across state lines, across wherever in the hell they wanted to send kids. Some kids would be sending to South Africa. Some other kids would be sending to London. Some other kids would be sending to Australia. Some other kids were being sent to across state lines from California to Florida. Other ones from Florida to California. Wherever in the hell these people wanted the kids were being sent, aka trafficked, aka commoditized, aka illegally being used as pawns in a scheme that they never understood and that they never asked to be a part of. And they got duped into believing that whatever in the hell contract they did sign was all of a sudden going to be very, very binding beyond belief, literally.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Because I had never been around non-Scientologists in my life before. So it was an interesting chance to see that, no, not everyone is a Scientologist. Not everyone is in love with Scientology. And they were actually kind of normal and pretty cool. And all of a sudden you could see everything for what it was, how controlled it was.
The decision to leave the church caused Dallas and Jenna enormous heartache. They claim they were pressured to stay, with threats they would lose all contact with their families. Jenna says she considered suicide. You did stand on a ledge and tell them you would jump.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fairly extreme position to take.
That was the only option I had. I mean, they had taken everything else away from me. They'd taken away my family. They'd moved me away from my friends so many times. Now they were taking Dallas away. What else could I do? All I knew is that the church feared bad publicity.
It seems to me it still hurts you to this day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Tough. Sorry.
It's okay.
Clearly, it was a terrible time.
Yeah, I mean, there's, who knows what would have happened. That's the scary thing, is they have so much control and so much mind control over you that you just are at their whim.
And yes, you guys, we have to once again underline, once again come forward with our own experience of how unaliving ourselves became a coping mechanism for us as kids that were stuck desperate inside of these damn hotels, being abused but being told we were helped, being exploited but being told that we were volunteers, being programmed to do disgusting extreme role plays on adults but being told that we were saving the world. So in what world is any of this gaslighting acceptable? In what world can any adult be going around betraying, pushing their agenda onto kids who cannot consent? Because that's really what we're questioning right about now.
Castel Canyon School was a big property. It was beautiful. It was a nice place for kids to grow up.
The church has.
That was Ariella, one of the kids that grew up inside there, one of the kids that are still in Scientology, and one of the kids that was used to so-called counteract Jenna's statements. Imagine.
Denied all of Jenna's allegations, describing them as tabloid tales which should be taken with a grain of salt. And it has set up a website to refute her claims about the ranch.
I love the experience. It was very heartwarming.
I mean, this is amazing. Like, who gets an experience of working on a farm these days?
Well, of course, the church has declared that you're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a liar?
No, everything I'm saying is completely true. The church is the liars, you know? I mean, there's so many stories like mine out there that corroborate each other and that they just can't keep a handle on it anymore.
You are accused of exploiting your uncle's name.
Mm-hmm.
You're cashing in on being a Miscavige.
Right. I mean, it's just like what I'm saying is the truth. If by nature of me having his name brings more attention to it, then awesome, because it should.
Jenna and...
Because it should. And again, you know, very nasty questions from 60 Minutes Australia to a child trafficking victim. How dare you even bring up, oh yeah, some would say you're exploiting his name. Did you not get the part that she lost her entire childhood, her entire formative years to exploitation? Seriously, guys.
Dallas now live in Southern California, and Jenna has written a book about her time in the church.
I feel like now, finally, I feel like I know myself, you know, I have my own family, I know what I want.
They're parents to children Archie and Winnie, and are now living the life they say they almost lost.
We're all different. We all have something to give. And so to me, the fact that Scientology takes away the chance for people to live their lives and be who they are, to me, that's what makes it dangerous. It's like a crime against humanity, against life.
And so we leave you with those words from Jenna. A crime against humanity. As if that wasn't already called out over a decade ago. And you know what? The subject of Scientology has not been treated as a crime against humanity, much less a crime against all children that were exposed to systemic, institutional child trafficking at an industrial size scale. I will be bringing you more receipts and more information that will continue to illuminate just what a nefarious, indefensible, corrupt 501c organization staffed with adults that take positions inside the organization and then turn around and abuse minors and get away with it. As you guys know, that is our focus here to discuss with you, or those of you who really want to understand what in the literal abominable hell is going on inside the Scientology hotels. I thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all extremely soon. Bye-bye.